Today's guest is in the top 4% of all Amazon sellers, and her business was recognized as a top 100 business in the US by the US Chamber of Commerce. It's a great line of products that you'll enjoy hearing about, but she also has a powerful story behind the business, full of advice that you can implement in your business today.
Are you looking for new ways to make your sales grow? You've tried other podcasts, but they don't seem to know. Harvest the growth potential of your product or service as we share stories and strategies that'll make your competitors nervous. Now, here's the host of the Harvest Growth Podcast, John LeClaire.
Welcome back to the show. I'm excited to have Pallavi Pandey in our show with us today. Now, she is the owner and founder of Detox Palm Leaf Dinnerware. She's going to describe exactly what that means so you'll understand. It's a really cool line of products, though, and it's spelled DTOCS, and that's their website, DTOCS.com as well. So it sounds like detox, the word we all know and love, right? DTOX or whatever, but it's spelled a little differently. But it's a really cool play on words and how it connects to the brand. I'm going to let her describe the product, and it's going to all make sense to you in a couple minutes. First of all, though, Pallavi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So if you could describe for our audience, what is the Detox line of products? What is Palm Leaf Dinnerware? And how'd you come up with the idea?
I'd love to do that. So if you're thinking about the word detox, what comes into your mind? Let me ask you a question.
Yeah, so I always think of like my health detox, right? Of like doing a juice fast or something like that, clearing all the toxins out from my body. That's a common way I've used it in the past.
That is a very, very apt answer. So whenever we think about cleansing or detoxification or just the detox journey, we mostly think about the inside of our body. And that is where I wanted to become more intentional and purposeful and have a bigger impact than just inside of our bodies. And I was like, why not outside? And that was a question I asked myself as after I became a mom. I became more conscious. I became more responsible with my family around. And what am I role modeling? And that's when I said, what if there's a way we can cleanse inside outside? And how would that be possible now? And that is why I came with the word detox, a cool, fun 5-letter word, DTOCS, just like iPhone. But it's a play on the word detox, meaning cleansing journey with leaves. And if you're wondering why leaves, it is because I actually grew up in India eating on banana leaves. So that is a part of my culture, which is very dear to me, which I immensely miss after spending 20 years in this country and after raising my kids and after being nostalgic about that experience. And I was like, what can I do? How can I bring this experience not only to myself or my children who I want them to experience this, but other people who miss this culture? And how can I do it in a way where it makes an impact, where it's for people, planet, and for parties? Because believe it or not, I love to party. I'm a party-loving mom. And at the same time, I love the convenience of use and throw, but I hate the cleanup part and I hate the waste. And that's where I became more intentional. And I was like, I am going to start a business that will not only help me represent my culture of eating on leaves, coming from the Indian culture of eating on leaves, but at the same time will help me save people from the soggy world of cheap paper, toxic plastics, expensive bamboos, and boring heavy Chinaware. And that is where Detox was born in 2019 as an e-commerce brand. Why? Because I had 10 years of experience in supply chain and logistics. So I absolutely knew how to ship anything between country A and country B in the most efficient way, and get it to the hands of a customer. And that is why I was so motivated to start Detox.
So I love it. And I think you have one in front of you. Maybe you could show it to our audience that is on video at least. And for those that aren't, please go check out DTOCSdetox.com to see these products. It's really a beautiful product though. It's very premium looking, but I think as you mentioned, it's disposable. So compare this to the plastic dinnerware that we're so familiar with, right? That we get at Walmart or the grocery store. Other than what it's made from, how is it different in terms of the way it feels and the way it's used?
Sure. I'd love to give some comparison stats here. So for example, if you are somebody who's been to a dollar store, which is not so much a dollar anything anymore, it is $1.25. So if over there, you can grab a cheap paper plate pack for $1.25, and it has 8 plates in that, which roughly breaks down to 12 cents per piece for that cheap paper plate, which is not even microwave safe, doesn't look elegant, it is eventually going to end in landfill. So how are we going to uncheck these boxes? It's going to be with something that I have to offer. Something that if you add an extra 15 cents to those dollar store plates, which means if you think about our products, given any shape or size variation, they can be anywhere between 20 cents to 30 cents per piece. But along with the pricing, they are microwave safe, they compost in 90 days. That is the beauty of nature, what nature has given us. The purpose of palm tree. So now these are made out of palm leaves, and in particular, if you're wondering what kind of palm tree, it is areca palm tree. The purpose of areca palm tree is to produce areca nuts. Areca nuts are also called betel nuts, and that is something we consume in the Middle Eastern, Asian countries as mouth freshener. It's coated with mint. We eat it up, but from the tree, the leaves fall down. So what do? We pick up those leaves that are on the ground, which are shed, and we heat compress them to form them into your plates and bowls. And that is where our products are, because they're made out of leaves, they compost in 90 days in the backyard. And that is the box I wanted to check. Not only convenient, but also guilt-free, and also something that looks classy. Like, would somebody like to have our products on their wedding? Absolutely, because they look like bamboo. They're very sturdy, and I'm going to knock here for our audience. It really is very, very strong. And that's why you can put hot boiling ramen and nothing will happen. Nothing will seep through. Nothing. This will not have holes, and that's the beauty. It's a very classy, convenient, sturdy product that can be in the hands of consumers. But again, I get it. It can be used for special occasions, like I said, for somebody's wedding, picnics, barbecues. I just don't want to do dishes on a Saturday, Sunday. I want to spend my time drinking quality wine that I got from South Africa and not worry about the dishes. So whatever your occasion looks like, this plate or this tableware is the occasion. And that's where we come into picture and tell people that we advocate for people, planet, and parties.
I love it. And what I love about the look and feel as well on this is you mentioned the cheap plastic plates you can get at the dollar store, but they feel and look like cheap plastic. And we use plastic dinnerware at holidays. We've got all our family and friends in town, et cetera. Like you said, it's just much easier to throw things away, but you're wasting things in the environment. But also, it's just not as pleasant of an experience. And we'll get the nicer ones, right? So it looks nicer, it's a little more sturdy. But then as you get up to those, they're the same price, or more sometimes as what you're selling for this beautiful dinnerware. The other thing I'd like to say about it is I in my family, we have a particular affection for woodworking, right? And so we've got some bowls. My uncle is like a award-winning woodwork. We've got some beautiful artwork that he forms even out of wood. But because of that, I love like wooden bowls and things like that. And this really, to me, reminds me of it. So I feel like when I eat on your detox plateware and dinnerware, et cetera, it has that look and feel of something premium. It doesn't feel like a throwaway item, right? It feels very premium. It's a beautiful look and feel.
Thank you. And you nailed it, because sometimes our consumers don't want to throw this after one use. And they're like, what else can I do with it? How many times can I reuse it? So this is the thing. Because we want to give you convenience, because sometimes we all get busy. We just don't want to wash anything. So that's the purpose. But when it's in consumers' homes, it's their discretion. They do whatever. And the way I put it is, if you have pets at home, rabbits, dogs, cats, after you're done using our tableware, just give it to them. Because believe it or not, some of our customers have given us stories where after a picnic or barbecue party in their backyard, they had a second party that the rabbits were doing with our tableware because they were busy chewing the products. And that's a common theme we've noticed with cats and dogs as well. Like, they love to chew our products. So that's another one repurpose of the tableware. Or for example, if you're like me, who somebody loves gardening, I break down the plates and I put them in the garden. Why? Because it's a leaf. It becomes your soil. And you are very right. They look so woody. They have that woody texture. And people just want to sometimes carry them in the bags. Like after events, they don't want to throw it. I don't blame them.
Agreed. So you've got a great product, as we talked about. Your pitch is fantastic. You know the story. You know how to share the messaging with your audience as well. But the placement, the marketing of it is also very important. The first marketing channel, I believe, that you were on was Amazon. And you have since become extremely successful. Now a top 4% of all Amazon sellers across the country or world. I can't remember if it's one of those, but a very successful play on Amazon as well. Can you talk to us about, first of all, how did you achieve that level of success within Amazon?
So I'm going to be starting with a very, very factual statistics. Listen to this. Every year in United States, during parties, do you know how much of single-use waste is generated? Do you want to take a guess? Any number. Take a number guess.
Let's say 100,000 pounds. I don't know.
Okay, so it is going to be 360,000 tons
Wow.
is
Yeah.
wasted annually. And to give a perspective in a very lame language, it is equivalent to the weight of 6,000 elephants, not the number of elephants, but the weight of 6,000 elephants. That is something we are contributing to every year. And that is why this is such an alarming number that we really have to wonder about the elephant in the room, which is the single use paper and plastic waste problem. And that was my whole eye awakening situation, why I wanted to get into this business, use my own products and advocate. And that became one of our marketing pillar. That why is this so important? Because we need to let people know that if we don't stop now, I don't know what our kids are going to see through. Are they even going to see alive turtles and fishes, or are they all going to be dying in a plastic bag? But coming to the point of like, how can I quickly reach customers, or what is the best strategy for me? What I thought in 2019 was, I'm going to take over the world. And then COVID happened, right? And then believe it or not, we were making zero sales. And at that time I thought, are people even going to stores, retail stores, to shop anymore? And I was like, hell no. What do I do? How do I quickly pivot or change my marketing or my presence or my product placement? And that's when I realized e-commerce, it is digitally, is the fastest way to reach people. And then now I had to figure out, do I have all that money to start with a pimp up website all the way that works 100% with the perfect SEO, perfect pictures, perfect listings? Of course not. Hell no. Because I had no business degree. I did not know how to write copyright listings or about how to take product pictures. I had no clue about any of that. So given my circumstance, my limited resources, money, cash flow, bootstrapping a business, I really thought on something, which is Amazon. Amazon had a presence in the whole world. You think about Amazon Japan, Amazon Europe, Amazon US, Amazon Canada, they are there. So why not leverage a wheel that's already invented? Why do I need to invent something from ground zero when I'm not even equipped? And that is why going in the forefront, my strategy was Amazon. And that was the best choice for me at that time. And I did prove it with time, because I grew exponentially on Amazon United States, and then we launched into Amazon Canada in 2023 year end. And we've seen faster growth, year over year growth, not just in US, but also in Canada, which proves a point that consumers are getting more aware, they're conscious, they want to spend a little more on good for planet, good for people kind of products. And yes, it is an emotional buy, but if we don't think about it now, then who will? Because this is not just for us, but for the generations that are coming, the kids, the future.
Love it. So if you think back to the early days when you're on Amazon, you made that choice. That's a great platform to start out on. What was maybe a turning point, maybe not the only one, but a turning point that started to really inject growth into your sales?
Yeah. So I will say one strategy that at least CPG or consumer good product founders should not overlook is trade shows. Why I'm mentioning that is, in 2019, when we had just launched in August, I did the Expo Natural Products Expo East or West, one of them I think I did. And that was the turning point for me. We were 1 or 2 months into the business. I had no clue what a trade show looked like, but we still spent $10,000 on this booth without even having the cash flow, the inventory or revenue at hand, but we still planned it. And that is actually where was a turning point for me. I actually met somebody from Amazon's team who actually worked for Amazon Vendor Central. And I was like, what is this? I had no clue, because all I knew that people could sell on Amazon as sellers in something called Seller Central, but I had no clue what Vendor Central meant. Anyway, I didn't pay much attention. I moved on. It took me 1 year to keep in touch with that person and be very persistent in like, tell me more. What is Vendor Central? What is Vendor Central? And the more I dug into it, I found out more gems of knowledge, which is once you are into Vendor Central with Amazon, what that means is you become a vendor to Amazon. So apart from something as a consumer you buy or shop on your phone, you're buying it from a seller. A seller could be anybody who wants to sell on Amazon. A vendor is somebody, not anybody. It's a very, very private community, handpicked brands by Amazon, where they buy specifically from those brands. So you become a vendor to Amazon. And that is where I got in a very strong lead as a vendor central seller. And I was able to onboard with them the next year in 2020 during pandemic. And I think my guess, because I never got the reasoning why, but my guess is it was 2020 when I closed my sales 5x. And I didn't even know I could do that. Why? Because my container of products, because I manufacture my products in India. Why? Because areca palm is something that is found in certain parts of the world, like India, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Brazil, etc., etc. And my containers, full containers, were sitting in countries for 6 months. I didn't have my inventory. I couldn't fulfill purchase orders. Anyway, fast forward. When I got into Vendor Central, Amazon started buying my products at a different pricing. Like Amazon became one of my distributor, and they were distributing my products forward. At that time, I really didn't care because I wanted to move my products because I didn't have money. I wanted those orders confirmed and money flowing into my account, because that's a real business. If you're not getting money, then it's not a business. So anyway, that was very, very helpful when I became a vendor to Amazon and I started seeing some revenue come in. So that was a seller central experience and a vendor central experience that year for us.
I love it. So one thing I want to pick out of what you just shared with our audience is, you have had great success in e-commerce and digital platforms. Part of this, the reason that success came is because of offline marketing, right? So trade shows, and it might be a different answer for everybody. I agree with your comment that trade shows can be invaluable, but it is important to think about our businesses, even if we make all of our sales online, maybe all on Amazon or on our website or both, whatever it might be, but having those offline interactions can still be very helpful. Where for you, it was finding the right person within Amazon at a trade show, right? That you probably wouldn't have come across, or at least not for a long period of time. That's how they find people. Retailers are the same way. So if you've got any intention of getting into brick and mortar eventually, then trade shows can be invaluable for that as well. But connections, right? So finding these offline connections in various ways can be such a help for the business.
Yes. And one thing leads to the other. What I will also say is after the vendor central success, we also saw another success, which was Amazon Business. So we quickly also got onto Amazon Business. And now Amazon Business is like a Costco, like a membership-based wholesale platform for corporations, for companies, for organizations where they procure their products. And there are some benefits, like if you're a woman-owned, if you are a minority-owned, if you have any other certification, LGBTQ, or any other valuable veteran, you can be a part of the Amazon Business platform. You have to apply to it. And that is open to everybody. And once that happens, is big corporations who are, for example, let's say a university or a hospital who's anyway getting their light bulbs from there, can now see your brand and your products can be placed through Amazon Business in the hands of those corporations, or even larger restaurants and food service places where you're anyway trying to break through retail. So now that you have an alternative, instead of going behind brokers and distributors, Amazon will become your distributor ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We've had several clients, sometimes with surprising products, right? I think yours makes fairly obvious sense, right? That businesses would purchase for their offices, right? Packages of disposable plates, et cetera. But even for products where it's not really obvious that every business might use it, it can be a great side of the platform where businesses shop. And if you're not there, you might as well not be on Amazon for them, right? So it's a great avenue to get to for a lot of businesses, even where it might not be your first choice.
Yeah. And again, if just this increasing the sales is the sole purpose, I think that's the wrong mindset. Why? Because you're trying to get a product placement. You're trying to find that point of entry. You're trying to find your brand being visible. So once you start plugging these puzzle pieces in there, you'll automatically start seeing organic growth and people just finding you. So a lot of times restaurant owners don't have a lot of space, so they don't want to hoard 1,000 plates. But what they can do is go to Amazon Business and from their business account, perhaps get a pack of 100 plates. But now what has happened to me is they've gotten to know my brand. They've gotten to know my quality. And one day I can hope they're going to come back directly to me. And that's what happened to us later down the years. People started finding us directly and coming directly to us saying, we've been buying your product from Amazon Business for years. We love you. We love the quality. And now we just want to come directly to you. Now your website can become your organic traffic area where people will find you elsewhere and people will come to you from elsewhere. So now your SEO is all organic. You don't even need to spend a lot of money on your website or Google, because you can have a strategy, which is pump in your Amazon listings with ad money. So if you're seeing that strategy work, then just focus on ad spend on Amazon, because sometimes people, what they want to do is spend on Meta, spend on Instagram, spend on TikTok, spend on Google, spend on Amazon. So you really need to find where people are shopping you and why, and how can you drive them directly to your website? Because at the end of the day, that is what a brand's promise looks like, which is come to us directly. We would like to serve you directly. We would love to build our relationship directly with you.
Great advice. You and I were chatting before we hit record on this interview about systems that you've put in place in your business that have really been kind of a game changer for you. And I think, not to put words in your mouth, but you mentioned something along the lines of you wish you had done it sooner, right? And it would have helped your business even in the earlier days. But can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe what systems have been especially important to you that might be good for our audience to think about for their businesses?
Sure. So in a very short time, like 3 years, we became a 7-figure brand on Amazon. And the whole credit that I give it to is two things. The first one was accelerator programs. During COVID, especially when I was not making any revenue, I invested a lot of time in accelerator programs online, where I was learning, what does this mean? What does that mean? How to do cash flow management, how to do your marketing, what does digitally means? Like, how can I get my products in the hands of millions of people at the same time, or even just the awareness part. So I got to learn a lot in the accelerator programs. And I remember very clearly meeting a mentor in one of the accelerator programs I did here in Oregon. It was called the Oregon Rain Catalyst Program. And that mentor told me, where do you get most of your revenue? And at that time, I felt ashamed because I didn't want to be an Amazon seller. That was too, as a brand owner, I was like, no, I want to be a viral brand, but that doesn't happen instantly. It takes time. It's okay. And that was the real moment for me when I had to hone into my numbers. And that was something I had to look every night. What do I close my revenue at every day? Which is the product do I sell most? And I had to dig deep into my dashboard on Amazon. And I went through my dashboard with that mentor. And that was a blessing to me, because if I hadn't done that, I would not have known that 80% of my revenue comes from Amazon. My consumers are buying me on Amazon because they want convenience. They want the order dropped at their door. They don't have time to plan. They don't want to wait for 7 days to place an order and wait for the delivery and sometimes miss that delivery and their event ruined. So I had to take a lot of effort honing into my finances and numbers and looking into that data that confirmed that this is my strategy and I want to focus here. Now, how did I use it? Again, like I said, I didn't have a lot of money to spend on SEO or ad spend. I was spending $500 on my ads at that time. Today, I spend $15,000. So again, that has been very, very strategic, because I have been monitoring my numbers every day. And what I want to bring here is the strategy, what you were asking me. I will say I have been running this business in a very lean way, which is very efficient way, because I'm a sole founder. I hired 2 contractors to help me with all this data, because I didn't know how to read any of that data. And even I didn't know how to even make my own listings, right? So I had to get help. So I hired my contractor from day one, the inception of my company in 2019. And he helped me walk through this Amazon strategy. And we use something called PLA analysis on our Amazon data. And what that stands for is P for plan, L for learn, and A for analyze. And what we did was we planned on, I did get crazy at the beginning of my business and I launched like 20 products. So my tip is, don't plan crazy. Start with a very, very small experiment, something that's doable, something you can measure. So that was the planning part. The second one was learn a lot from your data. Please look at it every day. So today, now I go into my dashboard. It's set up on my phone. Nobody closes my app. I tell my kids, how dare you? Don't touch my phone. Don't close the app, because I have to look at my data every night. What did I close at? So I have daily goals. I have weekly goals, bi-weekly, monthly, and we do a call every day. So that was a learning piece. I had to learn a lot by looking at my data. And why was the planning and learning important? To analyze. And why is that analysis important? Is because the more I can analyze, the more opportunities I get to get better at it. So imagine if you're looking at it, at your data every day, how many days do you have to spend? 365 days in a year, right? So that gives you 365 opportunities to get better, whether it's by updating, pivoting, changing, removing, whatever you need to. So that's the number of times you can iterate something after you analyze it to get to a measurable point where you can measure the outcome. So that was the strategy I really leaned into, and that really helped me. And now it's become a kind of my lifestyle. I would forget to check TikTok, but I do not forget to check my data.
That's so important. And I think there's so much data available today that, we probably didn't have at our fingertips 20, 30 years ago from a marketing standpoint, but so much of it gets ignored, right? Or forgotten, or it becomes this very secondary thing to, oh, look, it's doing fine, right? But the more analysis you can do, keeping it regular. I love that you talked about, even if you're not maybe, a genius at analysis, right? Analyzing data, you learn over time, right? So if you look at it every day, right, or keep doing it periodically, things are going to start to jump out to you. The numbers will be a story, right? They start to have meaning to you, and you can make changes and really drive growth in your business. So it's such an important part that often, unfortunately, gets missed in business. I think a lot of opportunity, a lot of lost revenue is left behind because we sometimes just don't pay enough attention to our businesses.
And I think founders get too busy marketing with the pop-up events and trade shows that we just really don't prioritize looking at the data that much. Or we like, oh, we'll come back to it tomorrow. Or really, it doesn't matter. I'll look at it at the end of the month. But that's like 30 days lost. And I can understand that sometimes it's a sole founder thing. We don't have the time. What I would love to tell on this podcast today, people, about is a very, very valuable resource that I personally have used. And it's called the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Program. Everybody should log into the NASDAQ website. And they have a intern matchmaking program where if you don't have the time, please leverage this. It's a free program. You can go through the program yourself. It's like a mini accelerator program, or not. You can just request them that you need free interns to do this data analysis for you. And if you cannot do it, get interns from them. And then ask the interns, of course, you will have to put in a little effort, which is you'll have to put in what your ask is from NASDAQ. You'll have to put it in their portal, and you'll have to get on calls with these interns because they don't know. You have to set up that system for them. And that's where the processes are so important, because if you put in everything as a document, you can literally take that document, give it to somebody and tell them, this is what you will have to do. And this is what the outcome should look like. This is what I'm trying to get to. So that's what I did. I laid everything on Word docs, Excel sheets, and I passed it on to NASDAQ. I said, this is what I need an intern for, who just goes into my Amazon dashboard and gets me this data every day. And from there, I was able to analyze everything at my hand. I could filter everything. So if you don't have the capacity, please utilize this resource.
That's a great resource. I'm glad you recommended it. Pallavi, is there anything I didn't ask that you think could be helpful for our audience?
I think I will just say that we are here to advocate for parties because I love partying and I love to give people that convenience. But with every order or every plate that we make, I would really want to share a couple of stories that when people purchase from us, especially my brand Detox, what I want to say is every dollar goes to helping out with a couple of our initiatives. And I would like to lay down those initiatives here, which would be the first one going into, we sponsor education scholarships for children in India. So your purchase helps us put those dollars into those education scholarships for those children, because believe it or not, it costs $60. Period. $60 for 1 year annual tuition fee for a child in India's school. So I'm able to do that if you purchase from us. The second one would be here, our local initiative in Oregon. There's a nonprofit called Greater Than Portland. My husband is on the board for it. And of course, I am his pillar, where we go together, we fundraise, we advocate. And every time we're serving food, of course, they have my tableware. But what I'm asking people to do is look into this initiative, because I have pledged to donate them yearly amounts to advocate for equitable education for children in the underrepresented communities here in Oregon. And if you're wondering why am I talking about education, is because I want to tell the audience that my parents sent me to the best Catholic convent school in India 40 years ago, all the way from kindergarten to high school. And education is something I believe where I am today, it is because of that, the quality of education I got. It made me more versatile, confident, and just like with the mindset of I can do anything. Or even if I can't, I'll learn it and I'll try it and I will do it. So education is very deep down in my pillar of initiatives, and every purchase that people help us with goes towards these social causes.
That's fantastic. It's great to give back, right? We have to remember where we came from and give back to our roots and to others so they can have the same or similar opportunities that we've had. Well, Pallavi, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your time. This has been a really great interview. I do want to encourage our audience, please go check out dtox.com, DTOCS.com. It's in the show notes, of course, if you're driving. And Pallavi's been so generous to give a promo code. So anyone who uses the promo code Harvest Growth 20, so Harvest Growth, the number 20, you'll get a 20% discount off your order plus free shipping. So very generous. Thank you, Pallavi. I really appreciate that for everybody in our audience. I do want to say for our audience as well, did you know you can meet with a member of my team absolutely free for a 30-minute strategy consultation? We've launched and grown hundreds of products since 2007 and learned some of our strategies while growing OxyClean back in the Billy Mays days. We're here to help. So please go to harvestgrowth.com and set up a call if you'd like to discuss further.